Hi, this is Bobby Halton from Fire Engineering, and welcome to today's Google Hangout. It's great to have you all here with us. I've got a couple of my good friends. Today we're going to be talking about the Sons of the Flag. We're going to be talking about firefighter injuries, burn injuries in particular, but we're also going to be talking about traumatic injuries, how they affect firefighters, how we can do more to try to prevent them. And we're also going to talk with my good friend Darren. Now, I always get your last name wrong.
Chohan.
Darren Chohan. Darren's a really cool dude. He runs Motorola, and he's actually the owner. He's the owner of. I'm just. Did you just lose your job?
I did, apparently, yeah.
The chairman of the board, Mr. Brown, is going. He runs Motorola, but what he does for Motorola is he helps guys like us, fire and police, emergency services, EMS, to have the best equipment we can possibly have. And he's really involved with what we do. He understands what we do. And one of the things he does do for the fire service, which is, and I'll brag about him for a minute, what Motorola does, and with Darren's help, is when we go to do our hands-on training, we bring in 590 some odd instructors. We ran 6,000 students through it last year. And my good buddy Erich Roden can tell you that when he's running his class out there, the Urban Essentials class, the last thing the world needs is to be disconnected. He needs to be able to talk to his safety guy. He needs to be able to talk to command. He needs to be able to track his students. He needs to be able to take care of his logistics stuff. And Motorola, for the last, 15 years?
Yeah, 15 years.
15 years has supplied us with over 200 radios. And those are radios that run, some are point-to-point, but some of them are fully, programmable radios. They send us brand new radios every year. They help us get them programmed. They pay for all the shipping back and forth. And it's probably valued at $10 million, $8 million bucks worth of equipment.
I want to say, yeah, it's a shade under 10 million.
$10 million worth of equipment. No questions asked, no hassles. They've done it for us. They ask for nothing in return. They do it because of the training. They do it because what Eric's teaching out there on the hands-on training field and what all the other instructors are doing really saves lives. So, one of the things I'd really like you to do if you're watching today or you've watched this in the archives, go to Motorola, Google Motorola, go to Motorola Solutions, and when that little "Can I help you?" they're kind of cool company. If you go to their site, they got trolls that watch the site. Not trolls, they're probably good people. But they hit you and they say, "Hi, I'm Elizabeth. Can I help you?" You say, "Nah, Chief Halton or Fire Engineering or FDIC sent me. I'm just checking out your stuff," or whatever you would say to her, or get involved in the conversation. Well, I don't know, but just let them know we sent you, and let Motorola know thank you. Just say, hey, thank you for what you're doing for firefighter training, because they're really making a difference. And later on in the conversation, I'm going to ask Darren to talk about some of the cutting-edge stuff that Motorola is doing in research for the fire service, which is fantastic. So we'll get to that. But I'm going to go around the table. Darren, why don't you tell people what your real job title is, and so you don't lose your job.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, Ted. So my name is Darren. I'm the Fire and Marketing Manager at Motorola Solutions. My job is to make sure that FDIC associations as well as other fire needs around the country are met. So that's done through a couple of ways. It's done through corporate outreach. It's done through associations like National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, Congressional Fire Services Institute, and things like that. Anything that we can do to help the fire service be promoted to understand that firefighter safety and fire lives are important to us. We want to make sure that we're doing our part as a vendor, not only a vendor but a partner, to ensure that line of duty deaths are reduced and injuries are reduced. And it's not that we're a vendor, we are a partner in this with you guys, and we want to make sure that when you go in, we're providing you with the best possible equipment and solutions that we can as a company.
Love it. And he's a cool dude. And what he's going to let me do at the as we get near the end of the show today, he's going to let me drop a bowling ball on a radio.
Absolutely.
Swear to goodness. Yep. So you want to hang in there for that. Well, Eric, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll bring on our guest, our featured guest for today in a minute. But Chief Roden, why don't you let everybody know who you are? Not that you need any introduction anymore, but...
I'd like to thank everybody for watching today. I'm Erich Roden, Editor-in-Chief of Fire Rescue Magazine and FirefighterNation.com. Tremendous show today, folks. I'll tell you what, we have some exciting things going on over there at Motorola with Bobby and Darren, as well as a very special guest, John Walters from Sons of the Flag. So really excited to see what those guys are up to. They're doing tremendous things for firefighters. So we'll get into that very shortly here. But again, thank you all for watching today. So Bobby, should we introduce our guest today?
Yeah, and I'm not going to let John introduce himself because he won't he won't tell you enough about himself. And one of the things about John that makes him a great firefighter, there's two qualities that I think are paramount in every good firefighter. Courage, and that's not just physical courage, it's moral courage, intellectual courage, but courage as a virtue, and humility. And John is probably one of the greatest examples of both of those. John served with the FDNY for, I think, about 17, 18 years. He was at ground zero, he responded, lost dozens and dozens of his friends, kept working on FDNY, and then one tragic evening, a taxi cab hit John and his crew as they were picking up after a job, and John lost his leg. John didn't stop being a firefighter at that point. John kept charging on, kept finding ways to serve, kept finding ways to step up. He teaches, he lectures, he's going to be teaching at FDIC, but more importantly, he got involved with a guy named Ryan Parrott. And Ryan's a former Navy SEAL, and they started a group called Sons of the Flag. And what Sons of the Flag does is it reaches out to burn victims, whether they're military, fire, or civilians. Most recently, they helped move a little, I think he was 6 or, John will have to correct me, but I think he was a 6 or 7 boy who, the kids nowadays are playing some game where they call it something with fire, the fire challenge, like the ice bucket challenge, and they're putting lighter fluid and they're putting acetone on themselves and then lighting themselves on fire. Well, John heard about this little boy who needed to be transferred to another hospital, and him and Ryan reached out and they got the funds together and they helped move this boy to a better hospital for his burn treatment. And so they're doing things for military guys. The problem with burn injuries and why Sons of the Flag is so necessary is that a burn injury, we think about somebody being burned and then we think they get better. Well, burn injuries don't operate that way. Once the burn heals, then the people have to go in for surgery to have their skin extended. They have to go in for surgery to have their joints fixed. The burns are very constrictive. So these folks, like some of the folks we met the other day, some of the military guys we met, are facing 25 and 30 more surgeries after the dozens they've already been through. A young burn victim, like the children we see at our burn camps, they're looking at a lifetime of surgeries until their body stops growing. And if you could imagine scheduling your Christmas vacation like we schedule Christmas vacations and holidays, they schedule surgeries. So Sons of the Flag is out there taking care of people who've had traumatic injuries and really making a difference. And John is one of the leading voices in Sons of the Flag. He's one of the principal directors of Sons of the Flag, a retired FDNY firefighter, great individual, one of my favorite people in the whole world. And now you can talk, John.
Well, thank you, Chief. I appreciate that introduction. That was pretty awesome. Most of the people like yourself, when they do an introduction for me, I don't even know how to follow up that act. So just thank you for having us on, and we're just trying to pay it forward here, helping people out.
You've been doing that for a long time. What is Sons of the Flag? What is Sons of the Flag doing right now, John, to try to raise money? How can people get involved if they want to help burnt firefighters, burnt civilians, and burnt soldiers?
Well, one of the things that we thought was interesting is we came up with this concept of Fight Burns campaign. We started that January 1st of this year. And you have to remember, our organization only started in 2012, so we're still a relatively young organization. Zane Krempen, who's a USAR task force member down in Dallas, he came up with this idea, and we started pushing it around, and we came up with this Fight Burns campaign. And the idea was to keep money in a pot, so when somebody was injured, we'd have some cash to be able to help them with whatever they needed. And then it took off so well that we decided to say, hey, you know, if I'm giving money and I live in Boston, I want my money to stay around Boston. I don't want to give it to California or vice versa. So we actually split the country up now into sections, just as the American Burn Association does. So we have different sections of the country. So we actually have 6 regions of the country. So when the money is raised at our events that we do, it stays within that region, so we can help locally. So our organization, as far as the reaching out to the actual victims, is our task force, and that's what I had. And our task force is led by me. Then we have 6 regions, so each region will have a director. Then we have, obviously, the 50 states, which each state will have a leader. And then we'll have local leaders into the larger cities and some are into the smaller cities and stuff like that. So that's our chain of command for our boots on the ground to actually reach out and help people, which is expanded to, I believe we're in 23 states right now, working on a few out west as we speak.
I know you've got a couple of events coming up that people can participate in. What's on the radar screen then? I know there's a 5K run and then there's a film festival.
Yes, actually, I just got back from, we did a clay shoot in Maryland. We had about 35 shooters there and raised some money there. It was a pretty good event. Well, actually, it was an awesome event. We even had the DC Fire Department pipes and drums came down there, and they're all proudly wearing their DC FD stuff, so I guess the morale there has gotten a lot more improved over the last few months here, which is good to see. And, Chief, I see the smile on your face. So the clay shoot was run by our regional director for Region 2, which is our Northeast. He's a Rescue 3 member of DC Fire Department, Greg Turnell. So we went there and did a clay shoot, and then the following day we met with the driver of the number 36 car for NASCAR named Reed Sorensen, who's actually a burn survivor himself. We had our booth set up right outside the grandstands of the race in Dover, and NASCAR was kind enough to get us a booth there through Reed Sorensen's parent corporation, Tommy Baldwin Racing, and their company called 140 Buzz that does their marketing. So we reached out to thousands of NASCAR fans, and Reed actually stayed in our booth for a while doing autographs for free. So we reached a lot of young kids that way, and believe it or not, Chief, people were actually looking for us at the race, which I thought was pretty neat. So we're actually becoming popular. And then on top of that, we have a 5K coming up October 19th in New Jersey. It's right around Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. The information is going to be on sonsoftheflag.org. It's a 5K if anybody's interested. It's a pretty cool event also. It's going to be our first one in New Jersey. Now, our Stars and Stripes Film Festival is huge.
Now, where was that in Jersey? Can we, if we go to sonsoftheflag.org, can we sign up for that fun run there?
Correct. The registration form is right on there. Everything can be done right on the website.
What was the date?
October 19th.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can get back to it, because anytime you can get a seal in a 5K race, it's a good day.
Yeah, the one thing that's cool about 5K
right?
is anybody can do it.
Yeah, I'll bet anybody wants to make a wager. I guarantee you, I will beat any seal that runs in that race.
I've seen it done already, Chief. I have to put Birdman. You might have to double dog dare him for that one. He might go though. Our Stars and Stripes
Festival, that's happening in Dallas, right?
Yes, Stars and Stripes is a huge, huge event. It's going to be the 6th to the 9th of November. Now, let me just preface it by saying on the 2nd of November, we will be at the NASCAR event in Dallas also, the Dallas Motor Speedway. And the same day, we are working right now with the Dallas Cowboys on a halftime event for a certain Navy SEAL to be rappelling out of the $140 million scoreboard for Veterans Day. So I don't know how he's going to do it, but he's going to be at both events. So maybe Jerry Jones will help him out. I don't know. But so that's on the 2nd of November, and a little birdie told me that the 36 car will have our emblems all over it for the race. So that should be pretty good. So our Stars and Stripes is a monumental undertaking. It's a film festival that's going to encompass all of North Texas, basically. We have a bunch of films being shown. We have sponsors that are actually picking some of these films. And let me see if I can read you some. On our, this is an invitation right here, if you can see it, but I will read you the very first thing after it says your name. Wars may be fought with weapons, but they are won with men. It is the spirit of the men who follow and of the man who leads that gain the victory. That was, if you can guess, Chief General George. It is George S. Patton, Jr. Very good. You know your history. So this is to honor the military, the men and women who have served our country, and film buffs and patriots alike. So this is going to be a really cool event, and they are showing some really cool stuff from Tora to even Stripes is going to be shown as a comedy.
That's funny. Well, it's great, John. It's really. I hope folks would go to sonsoftheflag.org and check out all the good work they're doing. It's a great organization. You know, the firefighters are getting burnt all the time. We have the guys who got electrocuted. We just lost one of those guys, and that was outside of Kentucky, right? Eric, wasn't that outside of Kentucky?
I believe yes. Yeah, unfortunately during the ice bucket challenge, very tragic event.
But the other firefighter is going to be struggling with those burns. We've got a firefighter down in Dallas who's recovering from some pretty severe burns. So burns are a big deal. I mean, you know, I guarantee you know a firefighter out there who's dealing with burns. And if you're not involved with your local burn camp, you're missing a huge opportunity, not just for the kids that go to those burn camps, but for yourself. I mean, it's awesome to go to those burn camps and see the courage and see the strength of those young people and help them to get reintegrated with society. And you know, and it's a huge problem, and it's one I think the fire service needs to do more about. And I'm really proud to be affiliated with Sons of the Flag and what they do. And Sons of the Flag is also going to be at FDIC, and they're helping us with the stair climb. So the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation is going to be doing a stair climb, and the Sons of the Flag are putting together a group of Navy SEALs who are going to lead us in the climb this year. So we're going to have a group of Navy SEALs who all joined the fire service after 9/11. And so they want to give back, and they're going to do the stair climb with us at FDIC. So I know Darren will be there with me, Eric will be there, John will be there. You know, if you're not signed up for the stair climb at FDIC this year, last year we had about 500 guys, Eric?
Yeah, roughly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this year we'd like to try to get about 1,000 plus, so that we could run 3 waves of 343. We'd like to see over 1,000. We've got 33,000 firefighters made it to FDIC last year. We need to get 1,000. We need to get over 1,000 people in that climb. That ought to be something we ought to dedicate ourselves to, and support the Sons of the Flag along the way too. I'm gonna see if we can't find a way to get the two organizations to join up on that and get the SEALs out there. Maybe we'll even get some Rangers and I'll get my son to come down. He's part of that larger group of the military, the Navy, that actually moves all those guys around.
Well, actually, Chief, we spent the weekend in Annapolis, myself and our chairman of the board, Steve Woods, and Ryan, and we stayed at Annapolis because it was between the NASCAR race and the shooting event. So if you've never been to Annapolis, what a beautiful city it is, and it was an awesome time hanging out there. And a lot of Navy people.
Well, it's the Naval Academy. The kids call it the Yard, and the expression in the Navy is that the Yard's a good place to be from. It's not a good place to be.
Well, I will tell you, we had a great time there. We met, I think Bird met about 5 or 6 guys that were SEALs that he used to work with, and they just happened to be in town for a reunion.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. And then we met the Commodore and the Master Chief in charge of the entire SEAL program. That was really quite an honor to me, and you know, they came up to me and asked me about 9/11. I told them we lost 20 guys in the house that I worked at, and the Master Chief looked me straight in the face and said, "We took care of some of that for you, son."
God bless him.
That was a great feeling. You know, he's got my back, and we got the other backs of the public in this country, at least.
I'm not sure. I think I'm quoting God, but some folks just need killing.
It was it was a pretty cool event, though. And then so we went and had a nice little steak dinner in Annapolis, and it was a really nice city there, and we had a really good time. But some of the other things, Chief, that we're looking at right now is as you mentioned, the burn camps for the children. Our South Carolina task force leader named Mark Haddon has been going for a few years to Charleston, and he went this year, represented Sons of the Flag, to not only go there, but he stayed for a week to be a counselor there. And we sent him down with cases of soda for the kids, and we also sent them with 40 disposable cameras. So the kids got to document their week-long trip in the burn camp, which you can imagine it's hard enough to grow into teenage years and bullying and all that if you look normal, and if you're disfigured, you can imagine how much harder it is with the bullying and stuff. So when they put these kids in the camp and they're with their peers, man, do they come out of their shells. And they do a lot of cool stuff with these counselors. And Mark got to be there for the whole week, taking a lot of pictures with the kids. And each kid got their own camera to take pictures the whole week, and they got to take the pictures home with them. And that was pretty outstanding. Work there.
Yeah, it's really important. If you're not involved with your local burn camp, get involved. The IAFF website, if you go to the IAFF website, they just did their national camp, and they've got a write-up of some of the camps from around the country. Oklahoma's is featured, and what John said is absolutely true. It's a wonderful chance for you to give back to the community, to help out some beautiful, beautiful kids. And it's interesting when we talk about burns, and you know, we're going to talk a little bit about with Darren about how technology can help us to avoid some of these burn injuries. But when we look at burns, the two populations that get burnt the most are the elderly and children. And if there's two populations that firefighters should be dedicated to protecting, it should be the elderly and children. Because
Without
the
a
elderly,
doubt.
the wisdom and the contribution and the foundations of our society as it exists today, and the children represent the future. And the society will be judged on how they treat those two groups. And those are. I mean, am I right, Eric? And you're a better statistician than I. But those are the groups that I always see in the burn reports.
No, I agree. I mean, we definitely need to do a lot more and discuss that a lot more and get more involved, whether it be at our burn camps or local community risk reduction programs. But definitely two target populations to focus a lot more of our attention on.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, guys always talk about, oh, I don't want to do prevention, I don't want to get. Well, that's what you're preventing.
Yeah.
You know, we're not stopping you from going to fires. We don't want children and the elderly to be burned unnecessarily. We want to educate people as to how to, you know, get out alive, how to not try to fight a stove fire. Just call us. You know, we'll put it out for you, and in most places we won't charge you.
Chief, one of the things, you know, with the burn camps and the kids, you know, kids obviously get burned in a multitude of ways. Sometimes, and I live in the South now, people don't realize in the North, especially in the New York City area, children get burned all the time from steam because that's what's used for heat. We don't have that down here where I am in Myrtle Beach, but in the Northeast, that's a big, big deal with the steam going through the pipes and everything else. But one of the things that I would really like to tell you about is this stuff right here. I don't know if you can see it.
Prel.
Okay, this is what the children were using for the fire challenge. And they put it on their stomach and lit it on fire because it's flammable. So the 13-year-old and the 8-year-old get together to do this fire challenge, and it didn't go so well. And he ended up in the hospital in Alabama. So he goes to the Children's Burn Center in Alabama, and they're taking good care of him. The mother got contacted. Somehow my wife saw it on Facebook. Tell you how social media works. And we reached out to the mom, who happens to be a volunteer firefighter, and she wanted to get the kid into Doctor's Hospital in Augusta, Georgia. Now, Dr. Mullins has been working with us. He's the director of the JMS Burn Center in Augusta, Georgia, which happens to be the largest in the country. So we made a phone call on behalf of the mom, and the kid was on a plane with his 18-year-old brother into the hospital and into the OR in about an hour.
You know, listen, if you're out there listening to John right now and you want to ask him a question, just do #FETalk. #FETalk. If you got a question for John on Sons of the Flag or Burns and what they're doing for burn survivors, you got a question for Chief Roden on what he's going to be doing with Fire Rescue Magazine and how you can be a contributor to Fire Rescue or Fire Engineering, or if you have a question for Darren about Motorola, communications, innovations, technology, digital, the coming D-Block initiative and things like that, this is the guy to ask. So hashtag FE Talk if you've got a question. So what happened with the kid, John? Did you get him to the
So
Dr.
yes,
Mullen?
the kid goes to the burn center and
Looks like we just lost him.
John, I think we just lost John. John's connection just dropped off. Oh, he's back as a logo. We'll get John back in a minute. We'll transition right now. We'll transition to our friend Darren. We're here at Motorola while we can get John back. So we'll transition into talking to Darren, and we did some fascinating. We did a little visit earlier. We went and had lunch, but we went to a great Cuban place. And I know that Eric is a big technology guy, so he'll probably have more questions, more intelligent questions than me. But one of the things that I think is fascinating when we're talking about this is how many folks are still out there on analog radios.
Yeah, you make a good point, Bobby, and there's a lot of departments that are on analog radios, and what we want to do is we want to migrate them to newer digital networks. One, for the simple fact that the audio quality, the audio issues on digital networks now have been taken care of, and it is a reliable system. It allows better in-building penetration. But more so, there's a lot of fire safety and life safety applications that can be done across a digital platform that can't be done on an analog system. Right. So now that you have the ability to transfer not only voice but data, you can only do that on a digital network. And what I mean by data are things like physiological monitoring, right? Vitals for the firefighter to let the incident commander know if there's any anomalies. Indoor location is another one. We've partnered with Scott Safety. We've got the air tank telemetry solution now. So we're able to send Scott Safety air tank telemetry across our mission critical network. And Bobby, the reason why that's important, as you know, is because if you're in a high rise or a sub basement across the Scott system, because it doesn't operate on a licensed FCC band like we do, the transmit power is just not as great. And when we transmit anywhere from 3 to 6 watts, that message and that information gets out now. But the push of information by the firefighter rather than the traditional pull of information by the incident commander. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're proactive. We're sending information as needed, so the incident commander or dispatch can make real-time decisions based on that information.
One of the things that I know that Motorola is working on right now, I think is really important, is the interface with Scott. Mm-hmm. And I know that besides being able to get air pack telemetry, which is really important, you're also working on a firefighter locator technology. How's that going?
So we started shipping our TRX indoor location solution, and that's it tracks a team of 4 to 6, depending on the solution that you get, and it provides X, Y, and Z coordinate based on telemetry, dead reckoning telemetry that's sent back to the incident commander, and that's vital, right? That's one of the 3 things that you're looking for to find where the firefighter is. And if there's a mayday situation, or there's a situation where a firefighter gets disoriented and gets disconnected from his team, we are now in the position where we can send that information to the incident commander, so we can make an informed decision about how to pull that firefighter out depending on his location, or in a more unfortunate location, send a RIT team to his exact coordinates.
And that's the difference between GPS and dead reckoning.
That's correct.
GPS, you could be on the 3rd floor.
Well, yeah, so also with GPS, you lose GPS reliability once you move indoors, or you're in a high-rise area like New York City, or a larger urban area. So dead reckoning is based on your relative distance towards a triangulation point, whereas GPS is based on satellite information.
Wow.
So yeah, we're excited. We're doing our part, Bobby. We're happy to be partners of the fire service, and like I mentioned before, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're providing solutions to ensure that your job as a fire chief or incident commander or a friend of a firefighter, family member of a firefighter, you don't have to deal with these tough situations of someone not coming home. So it's we wear that with a badge of honor, and we're proud to be associated with fire engineering, as well as a fire service, and all the wonderful groups that are associated with you guys as well.
So we know that we're working on the telemetry. We've got we're working on the locator, and we have the telemetry out there for our air pack levels. I've seen that, and I've seen that in demonstrations. I think it's fantastic. The thing that I think is most important about it is or piece I think is very important is the biometrics that you were talking about. How far away do you think we are on biometrics?
The biometrics are here, Bobby. We just started shipping that solution about a month ago.
Really?
Yeah, and it's.
But what is the firefighter? Okay, so if I want to do biometrics, what would I understand? To get the telemetry off my pack, I gotta have a pack. What would I have to get biometrics?
So our APX radios have Bluetooth built in them.
Okay.
And what you would need is you would need to buy the Zephyr shirt from us as well as the software. Once you buy that, you pair your Zephyr PSM. It's called a physiological monitoring device.
Like you use when you're jogging.
Exactly. To your radio, and that information is sent down our mission critical path, much the same way that the air tank telemetry is sent down. And the reason why we partnered with Zephyr, or Zephyr partnered with us, is so they can utilize our mission critical radio network to get that information out. But it's got real world applications and training as well. As you know, now when you're doing your trainings, you've got full vitals of your firefighters, so you can make sure that Firefighter Smith is apt to be in a fire situation, and he's not going to be a hazard.
And this would be, could you imagine, Eric, you just got out of running the academy. Could you imagine being able to actually track your firefighters' physiological performance levels on the drill field and then maintain that data so when they go to the field you'd know really what their kind of limitations and capabilities were?
I think it's phenomenal. One, obviously having the capability of locating that firefighter, and as well as obviously knowing their vital signs. It's amazing stuff. It'd be great to get and facilitate benchmarks for every one of our firefighters, and routinely change those benchmarks, correlate that to physical fitness programs. I mean, there's the data being correct. I think it's a phenomenal quantum leap in fire service technology and accountability, for that matter. So I have one question for Darren. I mean, does the company officer also have access to that telemetry? Or is there any device or feature of the mast that's coming out that's going to let that individual company officer as well as the incident commander both see and account for members' physiology?
Right now as a company officer, that's hard to do because you'd have to have a device that could withstand going into a burning building as a company officer. So we're not at that point yet, and we want to make sure that if we do introduce a solution that's portable to go into a building, it is NFPA compliant, and we're not missing anything from that aspect. So for right now, we're going to have it for the incident commander and potentially dispatch as well. But of course, you can use our mission critical network to voice that information over to the company officer, so he can let his firefighter know that he's got an issue as well. But I mean, also now we can, to your point, Bobby, we can tailor rehab as well based on information that telemetry provides. So there's a lot of stuff we can do with it, and we're excited. So we're gonna hopefully showcase that at FDIC this year. Give you guys a hands-on about what it means to send real-time information as opposed to pulling reactive information.
So I'm assuming that the Zephyr technology must be NFPA approved though at this point.
It is, yeah.
Wow.
That is, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So and that's under your bunker gear. So it's going to come in two flavors. It's going to come as either a physiological strap, kind of like when you're jogging, right, or it's going to be like a wicking T-shirt, like the Nike Dry Fit, that's got the sensor in it as well. So.
Well, that's amazing stuff. So it's here.
It's here, Bobby.
I'm behind the curve. I'm behind the curve there. I got to go to my Motorola Solutions page more often and look at that. And speaking of technology, John, you're back, huh?
I'm back. Technology issues.
Well, but I think when we're talking about technology, and what's interesting is, technology is going to fail. It's going to, as John's experienced a little problem with his computer there, and we know that. I mean, it's another failure point in the system. So, what is Motorola doing on this system as like backup?
So, we're first and foremost a communications company.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure that your communications lifeline is always going to be there. And when we do introduce new technology to the fireground and to incident commanders, and we relay this information, we want to make sure that we're not compromising our mission-critical voice network. So you will always have that, and then you will be able to relay that information through the voice network, just as you normally would.
So the biometrics is just an adjunct to it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, data is layered under voice as FirstNet and private LTE networks built out by departments and municipalities gets a little more baked. We definitely plan to play in that space. We plan to provide solutions that are tailored to fire departments in that space, so data and voice can cohabitate with a little bit more mission criticality.
Erich, you're an active battalion chief. You're out there on the streets every day. Milwaukee's a busy job. How do you see this supporting your stuff better? And what do you think you'd want as a fireground commander into the future in terms of communications and information and data?
Well, I'll tell you what. Two things. One, being able to actively locate my members' positions on the fireground. A department like mine and several other comparable cities, we operate based on positional assignments, areas of responsibilities based on the type of fire building. And for me as an incident commander to potentially see somebody out of position, not where they're supposed to be, et cetera, would allow me to account for that individual and then make that radio transmission on that network to find out, why aren't you on the roof, or why aren't you on the floor above or fire floor, and we can account for that. Is that individual having a medical emergency? And then obviously being able to see that on the telemetry as well, seeing that change in physiology, that marked increase in blood pressure or other things. And I guess that's a question for Darren. What are some of these vital signs and some of the physiology metrics that you guys are tracking and sending to the incident commander for our viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're tracking his horizontal or vertical position. So if he's in a prone position, we're able to send that. There's an accelerometer built into it.
Really, horizontal or vertical?
Yeah, exactly. So if he's laying down, motionless for a period of time, you can send that. And we're sending the basic cores, like we're sending skin temperature. We know it's going to be hot in the fire, so it's relative skin temperature. You can make that determination about how hot it gets. We're sending pulse. We're sending saturation, and we're heart rate all at once. The goal there is to make sure that at some point the analytics that drive all these information and decision making is going to be to a point where it's not just the physiological information, it's the location plus the physiological plus the accountability plus, like you said, if someone is freelancing, all that information pushed automatically to the incident commander or the battalion chief or even dispatch as a second set of eyes to make that information. So working with our partners and our vendors such as TRX, such as Zephyr, such as Scott, SDI, who does our accountability solution, working with all of them to provide that holistic solution to push all that information to an analytics form where you as a battalion chief can make an informed decision.
I think it's phenomenal. Obviously, when we look at past devices on our SCBAs, oftentimes those don't give us that initial alert until about 18 seconds after an emergency has occurred. So, having somebody watching those the analytics and that telemetry is going to allow us to potentially determine and/or predict future maydays that much quicker and deploy those rapid intervention teams or rescue companies to other locations. So. I applaud what you guys are doing on that. Sounds like a tremendous advancement, and particularly for the accountability and the incident command side of things, I think it's going to be definitely a wonderful addition to Fireground Incident Command. So I thank you, and I applaud what Motorola is doing. Thank you.
Well, yeah, it's nothing compared to what you guys do every day, and we're like I said to Bobby, we're proud to be a part of the fire service and provide you guys the solutions. The last solution I do want to talk about is our accountability solution, and it provides radio-based PAR checks. So, typically, Bobby, on a structure fire, how long would it take you to do a PAR check for your guys on a
if you took your
typical response?
If you took your basic 1710, where you got 17 firefighters or so working, about 3 to 5 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes. So our accountability solution, because it's radio based, we can do that for 17 guys in under 10 seconds, right? So now you've got a full accountability report in 10 seconds just by people acknowledging their accountability, and it shows up on an instant command screen, and that person literally turns. He's a tile on the screen. He turns from yellow to green once he's checked in. If he hits
so rather than me saying,
yeah, exactly.
Don't walk command to Chief Roden, your par, and Eric looks around and realizes he's with himself.
Yeah.
Right? And, but we, currently we go unit by unit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Truck 10, and then the truck 10 officers got to, par in.
Yeah. So in addition to that, on our accountability.
Go ahead, John.
I think you hit the nail on the head. My biggest experience in New York City has been if the company officer goes down.
Right.
If you're a ladder company or a squad company or a rescue company or even an engine company, you got 4 or 5 guys underneath you. They're in different positions, some of which are not near you. And if they go down, you don't know it.
That's a very good point. And John, to your point, FDNY currently uses this solution in every one of their battalion chief units.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, just think about it. Before we had a piece of paper for a riding list, and it had another copy of it in the lieutenant or the captain's pocket.
Yeah.
But if that lieutenant or the captain goes down, nobody knows it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, when you think about how and what's interesting, and I think it's rewarding to see, is you've got men like John and Eric who understand this technology a lot better than I do. God bless them. But we're starting to see the meaningful integration of technology with our craft. You know what I mean? That it's not just, oh, hey, this is cool, you can do that. No, this is important, and you can do that.
Exactly. And credit to the fire service for actually starting to embrace technology, whereas before it's always been tough. And I can understand why it's been hard to embrace, because you're dealing with lives, you're dealing with making sure that all your guys go home. And as a company officer, as a firefighter, as a fire chief, whatever, you don't want to have that difficult discussion at 3 o'clock in the morning with a widow. So embracing technology is tough, but there's a lot more good than bad that comes out of this.
Well, and I think Eric and I and John, we all talk about this stuff a lot, and I think the fire service is slow to adopt technology, and I think that's a good thing.
It is.
Because I think we take our time and we vet things thoroughly. You know what I mean? I think that there are a lot of different industries that jump on stuff. Oh, it's like no disrespect to the folks that got the iPhone 6, God bless you, but people line up because it's new. They want it's new and it's the latest and greatest. They got to have it.
Yeah.
Well, your 4 might still be working just fine, which is okay, and maybe there's some new features, but are they the features you really need?
Right.
Upgrades just for the sake of upgrades. That's why when people ask me about, we talked about NFPA standards earlier, I think they're important, and I'm glad they're on a 5-year cycle, because it gives us time to vet what is really critical, what's really necessary. And one of the things that Darren and I were speaking earlier, that the telemetry was upgraded so that at 33%, the officers now getting notified because the NFPA standard changed. We decided that if it took you 2/3 of your air to get in trouble, you ought to have at least 1/3 to get yourself out. And I think that's a reasonable assumption.
It is.
And now, unlike when in the old days, you'd be telling people to get out, and they would tell you, "Oh yeah, we're on our way," and they weren't.
They weren't. Exactly.
And now we know. You're moving. You're either I see you're stationary. You're still on the 3rd floor. So
exactly.
I think that's some really good stuff.
Chief, to your point, I think the technology going slow, I think you're right, because some technology, as it starts to filter in, and it really depends on the technology, but as it filters in, it doesn't always work great with the fire service, because you're involving water and heat and a lot of corrosion, and things don't always work well in a factory compared to a fire floor.
Very true.
Electronic radios, when they were analog or digital, it took a long time for digital to actually work, or 800 megahertz. All of that, I would rather have an old analog radio to try to reach my incident commander on the fire ground, because some of those other things, it's the fire services keep it simple, stupid, and when we make it too hard, things fall apart and don't work. But eventually that technology will be proved, and then we can adopt it and use it.
Right.
Well, and what they're finding now with the digital that gives us, the original digital came out, it did have some original problems, but now what we're finding with the new digital, it gives us so much more bandwidth.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you set your repeaters up. Like I remember when, well, we were talking about FDNY R&D earlier. Back when Stein and Monticelli were back there. Boy, I'm dating myself now. Those two guys have been retired for probably 15 years, but 10 years anyway. But remember, we came up with that portable repeater that we were bringing into buildings. Well, now what they have is they have units.
They do.
So your officer's unit might be a repeater. Your battalion chief's car is going to have a repeater in it. So you're driving around with the repeater. So the digital system is giving you access to other networks. It's giving you access to other agencies. And now with your Bluetooth digital systems, you can bring cell phone users on. Imagine how useful that'll be into the future. I can really, that's an amazing opportunity because a guy might be trapped somewhere. Hey, my battery died on my radio. Get your cell phone out.
Exactly.
Because and there's your backup.
Yeah. So I mean, you mentioned a couple of good points, Bobby. And one of the main things that digital systems allows us to do, and unfortunately, this is the world that we live in today, is provide for interoperability for things like active shooters or mass casualty and things like that. Things that your old analog system couldn't do. So now that you're in a mass casualty and you're as a fire department, you're working with police, with FBI, Secret Service, Homeland Security, whatever it is, you've got the ability to select channel resources and interoperate with the people that you need to have that coordinated event. And like I mentioned, it's unfortunate that's the world we live in, but we have to prepare for these unexpected and unaccountable disasters, and we want to make sure that for the standard fire, which is your bread and butter, or your EMS calls, which is now it's transferring more of that to, we're positioned there, but we're also there for those harsh moments as well.
Well, and Eric and I were talking the other day about that California wildfire, the King Fire, and you talk about wanting interoperability. It was like 2 weeks ago we were talking about this, Eric, you and I, and that fire tripled overnight. So it went from like 40,000 acres to 200 and something thousand acres. So you've got literally thousands of people who are evacuating on roads that weren't designed in the land use planning stuff for mass evacuations, and so you've got that going on. That's a time when you want to be able to talk to the cops, to the streets department, and say, shut down traffic, or open this up, or it doesn't have to be a Columbine or a Sandy Hook. It can be, sometimes it can just be Mother Nature.
It can.
And boy, I'll tell you what, Mother Nature messes with us a lot more than we mess with ourselves.
That's a very good point.
And that's when I want to be able to talk to my partners at FDIC. I mean, just running that event, and I'll go back to if Eric running his hands-on class. If I've got to get an ambulance out there, or we were out at FDIC one time, and Eric, you might remember this, we had a guy with a gun. We had some acquired structures, and there was some cat who was still living in the building, and he came out and he had a gun.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I got on that radio. I want more guys with guns.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I want my guns to outnumber your guns. So.
Right.
But yeah, like I mentioned, we're pushing technology. We're pushing the fact that your job is hard enough, and we want to make sure that we're helping you guys do your job based on the partnerships and the solutions that we're trying to provide.
Well, I'll tell you, and Rob Weidman is a good friend of John's, a friend of mine, and Eric's as well, and he worked on Ladder 1, 2, 3 for many years, about 8, 9 years. Then he went to Rescue 2, and what was it, 2011 when Robbie got burned?
It was about 2.5 years ago. Yeah, maybe almost 3 years ago.
Yeah. It was in December. I know it was in December, so like 3 years ago. Anyway, Robbie was in an apartment. They were clearing an apartment. It was kind of like knocking it down, and it kind of lit up over their heads. And he told a couple of other guys from the engine or whatever to get out, and then it flashed on them. And Robbie made for a window where he was able to get out on a ladder, but if we had that kind of the information stuff that we're talking about, and I could see it someday when Eric's running a fire, he'll be able to say, Rob, there's a door 3 feet from you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go right. No,
Right.
your other right. Because like most firemen,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, exactly.
go right. You know, well, what's your other right? And then you can't imagine how this is going to change how we do business. You know, there's great research that's happening right now with our friends at UL and NIST and our friends in Sweden. There's a great seminar that's happening next week on car fires, and I was thinking of going, and I said, "You go to a whole seminar on car fires?" I'd say, "Absolutely." I mean, I'd kill to have enough funding to go to a seminar, on car fires and how and buses and what's going on there, because now we're talking about, as you're probably more aware, is nanoparticulates from these heavy-duty batteries, and how dangerous they are, and that's some stuff. We've got to be aware of all that.
Yeah.
We got to keep our eyes and our minds wide open all the time. And we always tell people these ain't your daddy's fires. They ain't even your older brother's fires anymore. It's moving so fast.
It's changed a lot in my time, and I'm not that old yet. And Chief, I just got a text message. I text Birdman that you challenged him to a 5K.
Did he take it?
He said, "Roger that. Bring on the heat."
Nice. So, and
it's so satisfying to slaughter a seal on the field of battle, mano a mano.
So, and if you guys have any questions in regards to any technology, you can always get me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @DHIREN1975, or Bobby can get you. I'm sorry, my information to you. So,
do it again. Your Twitter handle is
@DHIREN1975.
And give him a tweet and use this resource,
Absolutely.
man. This is a good guy. He's not trying to sell you anything. He's trying to get information.
I am.
I don't bring on people here to hawk stuff. I bring people on here who have things to share that mean something. Like John, what John's doing right now is saving lives and helping people reconnect. What Erich Roden's doing is paving the way for the future. He's involved in all those studies. He's on top of everything that's happening in the fire service. He's writing and soliciting the cutting-edge articles on everything from training to technology to culture to you name it. I mean, I'm a circus clown, but these guys are important. So, when you have a question for Chief Roden, you can reach him through Fire Rescue Magazine, or you can reach him through Fire Engineering. Go to Sons of the Flag and reach out to John. Do something with your time. @DHIREN. @DHIREN.
1975.
1975. Was that the year you were born?
The year I was born.
Oh, you're killing me. I'd been married already for a couple of years. You're killing me.
I
want to do something.
I was in elementary school.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it. And Roden, don't even open your mouth.
I wasn't gonna say a peep.
Yeah. Hey, you guys want to drop a bowling ball on a radio?
Let's do
I've
it.
been waiting to see that bowling ball on the radio. Let's
All
see
right,
it.
we're gonna do that. Okay,
So right now we're in the...
Eric, you take over for a minute. Hang on a second. I'm gonna pan around. Tell me if I'm doing this right. This is Motorola's little room here. Let me get up here. I'm gonna take it kind of slow. And check this room out. These are all the little different displays they have. There's the bowling ball we're gonna drop. Then there's a soundproof booth over there where they can do audio stuff. But check out all the terminal displays. If you can get down here to Fort Lauderdale, they're just outside of Fort Lauderdale. We're in Plantation.
Yep,
we're in Plantation. Darren will bring you in here, and you can play with all this stuff. They got their own little command training center over here. You can see there's the back end of a Suburban with the radios all popped up. They even have a police car, so you can pretend you're at, one Adam 12 or whatever the heck it was, Roy and Johnny. Got all the radios over there to mess with, and a firefighter dressed out in his gear. So it's an awesome place, and it's called the Customer. That's okay, we're okay. It's called the Customer Experience Center,
Yep.
And it really is. So Darren, we're going to walk over here.
Yep, I'll show you two things. One, I'll show you our radio drop real quick.
Okay, so here's a radio. This is kind of cool. Let me make sure I got that.
This is on a concrete slab. This radio has been dropped over 6,000 times.
Let me move back a little so we.
600 times.
600.
With
Okay.
the camera catch up.
Go ahead. We got you, Darren.
Yep, this is a solid concrete slab on the floor. So we'll just drop it here, and we'll show that
How many times have you done that, John?
A few.
And turn it on. You can see that it'll key up.
Zone 1, fire 2.
So quick point, our radio, our Apex radio, 7000 XD, this radio right here, is the loudest radio on the market. It's twice as loud as our prior radio and twice as loud as any competitor radio.
The sucker was loud. Could you hear that out there? That was a loud radio.
Loud and clear.
All right, now this is the cool thing. You gotta check this out, Eric.
All right, so this is the cool thing. So we got 3 radios down here, all Apex, all with Gorilla Glass, our proprietary Gorilla Glass on them. I'll drop a slug here on this one right here.
How's this look, Eric? Am I
Can you
coming
see that?
good?
Yep, you're right. You're right on the ball there.
All right.
Okay.
Let's check this out.
So see this one? Then we'll drop a slightly larger slug. And then we'll
All
drop.
right, now check this out. Here it goes.
We'll drop the 12 or 14 pound bowling ball.
You know, I see about 5,000 firefighters doing that in the firehouse tomorrow morning.
I know, right?
Right? We're going to head back over to the table and set up here and do some closing thoughts and talk a little bit about, you know, everybody's doing everybody's hyped up about what we're doing with UL and NIST and Factory Mutual and our friends from Sweden, and that's great. And I understand, you know, people are interested in it. But you should also be interested in what people are doing at Pierce and E1 and Motorola and Scott, and you know, pay attention to what those folks are doing because they want your input. You know, they really do. They want you to come down and they want you to knock on their door. They want you to call them up. They want you to send them texts. You know, if you got a problem with something, tell them what the problem is. They want to fix it. You know, it's fascinating, folks. They're going to be meeting next week. Ted, where are you guys meeting? The Femmes of Fame? Is it Femmes of Fame? Femmes of Fame? They're going to be in San Antonio. If you're in Texas and you're going to be near San Antonio, there's a meeting of all the fire apparatus manufacturers. Are you going down to that there?
No, that's more of a fire apparatus, not a radio show.
It's equipment and apparatus.
And some equipment stuff too. So, but I mean, you know, that's an important group, and they do a lot of good stuff, and they're looking for feedback. They're looking for stuff. Darren's going to be out at FDIC, so if you're coming to FDIC and you want to see some of this stuff in play, come down and talk to him, man. I mean, Eric's going to be there interviewing people and talking to people. Talk to Chief Roden. I mean, he knows how to put this stuff together so people understand it, and he'll get you in touch with the right people. I mean, it's the opportunities are there, and the saddest thing I think in life is to waste an opportunity. It really is. It really is. Chief Roden, what are you thinking about on technology and burns?
You know, I'll tell you what. You know, we all suffered some of the worries with digital radios when they were instituted. You know, 15 years ago. We've overcome the infrastructural issues. We've overcome the water versus electricity thing you'll never get around, but you know, obviously we've been able to get around that. And you know, we can't ignore the accountability and health control measures that we now have at our disposal and everything that Motorola is doing. That's technology we can't ignore. I think it adds such a new layer of accountability on the fire ground as well as in the firehouse. You know, as we see we can run obviously analytics on some of the telemetry, and we can actually see are we seeing some trends with individual firefighters. So I think it has exponential benefits in the long run. It's exciting stuff, and we can't ignore it. We need to speed up our acceptance of new technology and realize that it's only going to benefit us that much more in the future. So my hat's off to Motorola. I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. I'm looking forward to seeing you at FDIC, and I'll definitely be hanging out in that booth. So. Yeah, with that, and I guess with the Sons of the Flag, before we part ways this afternoon, I really want to talk about their website for a second, sonsoftheflag.org, and some of the stuff they're doing, and just me poking around on it the last few weeks and the last year or so. It's a very friendly website. I'll let John speak to it a little more in depth if he wants, but. Like I said, they're in 23 states, and I'm sure they want some more boots on the ground. So click on the "How Can I Help" link on the site and get involved. I think it's a tremendous organization. They're doing great things, and and I'm very happy to be able to profile them on this show. I think it's going to be a great time at FDIC. It's going to be a great challenge running with them and getting involved more in their events. So, John, I really appreciate you being on, and I'd like to let you plug your site a little more and have any more words on Sons of the Flag for us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. That's very nice of you. Well, for me, technology, first off, even doing things like this Google Hangout is I'm technology challenged, so this is a pretty cool deal for me. We do the radio show on fireengineering.com, which is, we've had some really cool guests on it, including the chief there. And we're looking forward to expanding that and getting that rolling more. Our website, we're actually in the midst of redoing it, and we're going to have a map of the United States when you click on the task force, so you can click on your state, and then it'll have your information of who your state leader is and how to contact them, instead of having 50 different profiles all over the web page. So it'll just be a nice map of the United States to click on. But we are looking for help, even if the states are covered already. We're still looking for help in those particular states. There's 127 burn centers in the country, and we're trying to target all of them right now with the American Burn Association. So it's a massive undertaking, and we're trying to change technology, just as Motorola is doing on the fire ground. We're trying to change it in the hospital and how the doctor's actually doing procedures on you. They're currently doing the same procedures since Vietnam for skin grafting, and we're trying to get rid of that and something new and improved down the road that'll help out not only firefighters but civilians and everything else. The fire service just seems to be the one carrying the torch with the military because it's an occupational hazard. Whether you're burned yourself, if you're not, you're probably going to experience somebody else that's been burned. It's a natural occurrence, and the military partners that we have is outstanding. We're currently partnered with Brooke Army Medical Center, which is Department of Defense, is where the burn victims go to become survivors, and Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, which is part of Harvard. And we're really excited because on July 1st of 2014, we hired our first fellowship, who's a burn surgeon who's now out working in the field on behalf of Sons of the Flag at Brigham and Women's and at the Brooke Army Medical Center. They're going to split their time 6 months and 6 months. So we're in talks now with Doctors Hospital in Augusta to try to get another fellowship in there and more at Brigham and Women's and all over the country. So we're trying to actually put burn surgeons in the field and not just plastic surgeons. So it's an exciting time, and just as you guys did with Motorola, that the technology is pushing it forward, and that's what we're basically doing. And you need some hard chargers, behind pushing it, like the Birdman and the Chief there.
Yeah, happy to help. You kidding? It's a tremendous opportunity not just to help fellow firefighters, but to help children, to help the elderly, and to help our wounded warriors. I mean, we owe these guys and gals so much,
Yeah.
and the government can't do it. I'm a professed libertarian. I don't mind saying it. I'd rather do it myself, and then I know it's getting done. And when you've got organizations that got real love and compassion and passion, pushing them forward, and great support, like folks like Motorola and other great companies that help support us, then it gets done. It gets done better. And it's not disparaging the VA system and places like that, but they can only do what they can do. And
Their bandwidth is limited.
Right, and ours isn't.
Yeah, we've got more. So I mean, and just another point around for the burn camps and getting involved. You're helping these kids, but what you're also doing is you're figuring out yourself that you can make a difference, right? And you're figuring out that you have this innate desire to help, and it builds your character and your courage to help these kids. And I'll tell you, you learn a lot more about yourself than you ever thought, and you find that they're helping you more than you're helping them. So definitely do give some time and your resources to help these kids and elderly or whoever. It's a wonderful cause.
So a bunch of what's coming up new with Motorola? Where's Motorola going to be next? How can?
Well, Bobby, we're just here. We're making sure that we're servicing and providing the needs of fire departments across the country and across the world to provide you these solutions, these cutting-edge solutions. And we got some exciting things that we're going to announce at FDIC. We're going to continue our partnership with Scott Safety, pushing the air tank telemetry. We want to work on in-mask audio next and make sure that we're providing audio solutions to the fire market. So that communications lifeline is there. Working with schools on active shooter drills. So we've got school radios now. It's basically a giant radio with a big red button on it. So if there's an issue, it's in the comms room and it's pushed there automatically and it's sent out automatically across our P25 network.
Wow.
For that, and just ultimately just providing solutions to make your job safer and to help your communities, and that's what we're all about. And of course, working with associations like FDIC, the Fallen Firefighters Foundation, we donate radios to a lot of the burn camps around the country during the summer for their logistics and stuff like that. We will be at the National Fallen Firefighters Survivor Weekend next week, so yep, we'll definitely catch up there. And I think it's important for you out there to know that there of course is a sales team in Motorola, but then there's people like me who just want to listen to what you have to say and listen to what the thorns in your side are, so we can help alleviate them. And that's my role, and making sure that you understand that you've got a lifeline and you've got a communications tool for me to go back to the product development team and the higher ups to say that there's an issue that we need to fix. And we're a very proactive company in that sense, and we're always here to listen to what you guys need.
Outstanding.
Hey, I got a
question. Oh, go ahead, John.
Well, first and foremost, I'm heading to Disney World in the morning with 5 kids. Do you have anything that would enable me to cut the lines at all electronically?
Unfortunately, I don't. I'm sure you can use your charming personality to work his through
kids.
That's right.
That's the only time I claim to be handicapped, when I have to wait online at Disney World.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, seriously. Like you said, you have the salespeople and everything else. How do we get in touch with somebody at Motorola to get them on board with backing up Sons of the Flag and some of the stuff that we're doing, or some of the major events that we're doing where we might need radios? Because we are nationwide, so it's not just in one state or another.
I think you're talking to him, John.
You're talking to him.
All right.
So, I'll get your information from Bobby and how we can help. We've got a lot of, I guess, good corporate citizens. We volunteer. I know of at least 20 employees within Motorola Solutions that are volunteer firefighters, and we make sure that we're there. So if we can do something to help you guys out, we're more than happy to.
Yeah,
I'll make sure I'll get there and hooked up with you and Birdman, and we'll move down the road.
Yeah.
Eric and I will be in San Diego next week for our hangout, right, brother?
Yep, next week.
So, do you know who we have on with us, or?
I'll look that up right now.
Oh,
that's
I don't have the schedule in front of me, but we'll also be doing a special hangout probably next week with Angela Hughes, who's the new president of iWomen, and we'll be with Dr. Beth Murphy and John Murphy, a lawyer, and we're going to be talking about sexual assault in the fire service, kind of a tough topic, but one we need to talk about. It's a huge issue. If you check out the iWomen website right now, they've got a great PSA up about it. It's kind of I want to say a dirty little secret. I hate that term, but it's a terrible travesty that's still occurring in the fire service. There's still a lot of sexual harassment. There's still sexual assault that's occurring in the fire service, and as firefighters, we can't tolerate it. We just can't tolerate it. So Angela's going to come on with Beth and John and Eric and I, and we're going to talk about that and get that awareness out there. We've been talking about mental health issues and wellness, and that's a piece of it. We can no longer tolerate it for thousands of reasons, but we'll get into that in great depth, and we appreciate Angela and the iWomen for agreeing to do that with us. So we'll be doing a special hangout sometime next week. Eric and I'll let you know next Wednesday when we're on our show on Wednesday, our regular show on Wednesday. I'm going to schedule that, but I think we're probably going to try to do that on. I think we're going to try to do that on Friday, Eric. If I'm not completely delusional. I think we're going to try to put that together for Friday.
Hey, Chief, we forgot one plug.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're actually even supposed to mention it, but Sons of the Flag is going to have a book coming out, hopefully before Christmas. And there will be chapters in there from military guys from every war, from World War II till today. And then there's 2 chapters in the fire service, myself and Rob Weedman, and a certain Chief Halton that did the forward in the book that I heard was really good. And this book is not going to be about what we do. This is an entire book about why we do it. So it's something that I think is going to be really successful, and I think it's going to help a lot of people down the road. I know when I got hurt, I was looking for some inspirational books to read and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a really cool deal when it comes out. So we'd like to plug that, and hopefully you'll be seeing it soon. And the book is actually going to be called Sons of the Flag.
There's a creative name, Sons of the Flag by Sons of the Flag. Well, next week on Wednesday, we're going to have Ricky Riley and the guys from Traditions Training on with us. It'll be Eric and I, and Ricky Riley and the guys from Traditions Training. We'll be talking about hands-on training and training in the fire service. We've got to go. My name is Bobby Halton. I'm here with my good buddy Darren, Erich Roden, and John, and we want to tell you all, please be careful out there.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.